Everyone, quick demo video again. This time I'm gonna be explaining kind of like sometimes I feel like when I'm drawing, I'm kind of like this like mad scientist, like experimenting with different ideas and concepts, and then kind of like morphing them and changing them. And I think that's one of the parts I have the most fun with drawing. So I could just kind of wanna explain that in this video. And I just want to say that like these like sort of demo videos, or like I don't want to consider them teaching videos because I'm not trying to like tell someone how to draw or how to think, and like I don't know how everyone learns and that sort of thing, and everyone kind of learns differently. But this might help some people that are kind of more similar to me. So this is kind of a good drawing. I did this off camera one day, just kind of like doodling, and this is kind of like along the lines of like the experimenting. Like I'll like for the head over here, I just kind of like started with like just a random shape, and then I was just kind of like, how many faces could I fit into this small area, and kind of like if I was to get to a certain position where a character can just not fit, or if they start to squeeze around this edge here, then I'm kind of like changing the details and kind of distorting them as much as I can. And then like another character, I'd be like, oh, I want to kind of do the same sort of character, but then maybe push them a lot upward and like closer to this sort of thing. And then I was also thinking, once this character reaches, I was kind of thinking of it as glass at this point, that their face would probably like squish into the thing, into this shape, and then kind of like slowly defining what this thing is that they're in. So it's creating like a little bit of story as I'm experimenting too. And then as I keep going, and then like there's this little silhouette here, so I want to squeeze another face in to just kind of like keep it going and going, and then kind of like squish his face, have his lips pretty smashed against the thing, and then I would just keep going around and around and basically keep morphing things however I want and experimenting with different ideas. So I think like this is definitely a key point in how I learn when I'm drawing. I think it like it's constantly pushing me to get better and better, and constantly thinking of like new ideas and not staying stagnant or drawing the same thing over and over. And I've been doing that a lot with perspective lately, like pushing things as far forward as I can, and then getting very small in the background and just kind of pushing characters more and more. And it's that same kind of experimental aspect. Like if I want to do, let's say, I wanted to mix a tiger with a rabbit, because that could be kind of interesting. Then I'll kind of think of like it on the go and just kind of like how would I want to merge the two together. So I got the tiger with the very square muzzle there, got some markings, and then let's say about here I wanted to start the rabbit part. So then I could kind of like merge the two together, and it might not be the most beautiful thing in the world, but it's just kind of like that curiosity of what would happen if I did this kind of thing, or what would happen if I did something else. And then like then it kind of gets me curious, and I'm like, oh, how would the rest of the body be here? Maybe he's got the longer neck, and he might have more of a rabbit's body. And then I could also like make it a little bit more cartoony and then like more realistic. So there's like literally an infinite amount of ways to go about like doing some sort of like mixed character like this, and there's so many different ways to kind of just like experiment around. And I think that is the most exciting thing about art, is just kind of playing around, because I feel like art is drawing is like this big sandbox game where you can pretty much do whatever you want, and I don't want to like limit. My rabbit is going crazy in the background. I don't think he likes the my tiger bunny. But yeah, I think it's like a big sandbox game where you can pretty much do whatever you want. And I don't think there's any right way or wrong way of approaching it. It's like literally however you want to do something, whatever you find fun is the best way for you. And because if you're not having fun, you're probably not going to stick with it and like that sort of thing. So, yeah. And I think time is very important. So whatever time you're putting in, you might as well enjoy yourself while you're doing it. But yeah, so that's kind of like the I guess mad scientist kind of approach of just like experimenting, and then I could do like more, and then maybe this time I do a rabbit, and then switch the two bodies around. It's kind of a goofy looking bunny here, but I should probably know how to draw a rabbit since I look at one every day. But yeah, so then if I wanted to go and maybe do the opposite this time, do kind of the best to my knowledge of a cat here. Definitely not perfect, but this is kind of how I learn. And then I know I've been getting a lot of questions about like reference too, so I might as well talk about that in this video. But I think for reference, and I might even make a separate video on this too, but kind of quick, for reference, I haven't drawn like directly from reference in 3 years, and I kind of did that as like an experiment to see if I would improve a lot faster. And I don't think I'll ever go back to drawing from direct reference because I don't know, my mind just works a lot better from just kind of like what I'll do now is I'll do these sort of like experiments and drawing different things across the page. And then like yesterday on a stream, I did a horse, and then I after the stream ended, I did horses and samurais, which some of you might have seen the video. But I did horses and samurais, and then I kind of after the stream ended, I went and looked up reference of a horse, and I kind of call it like starving myself from reference. So I will go a long time without looking at reference, or I'll do maybe now I'm gonna start doing like if I want to get better at a certain topic, I'll do like multiple drawings, maybe like three of like a certain topic, like samurai or whatever, and I'm just kind of like putting down any knowledge I have of that thing. So like a horse or something, and then after I get to a point that I feel like I'm sort of like starved from reference and like I call it like kind of getting hungry for knowledge. And then when I go and look at reference online, then I feel like I'm able to the information sticks because I have like I'm not used to staring at a horse. And also I had just done like three drawings before that of things, and then I want to that info that I'm then looking at those references online, and I'm not saying like I'm drawing from them, but I'm just going and kind of observing and just looking at photos of horses, And then every detail that the horse has, like my mind is like just going crazy, and it's like so hungry at that point that it will just start like metaphorically start eating up all of the different knowledge. And then it's kind of like then I'm able to sort of like also see what's important knowledge and what's not important knowledge. So like by that I kind of mean like what makes the horse look like a horse, and what are some features that maybe aren't as important as others. So yeah, like this horse already looks a lot better than the ones I was doing on the stream the other day, and that's just from like maybe like 10 minutes of looking at photos, and maybe like I was only looking at like a few minutes of horses, and I went through and looked at samurais, some like different gun types and different things like that. So yeah, this is kind of becoming a dual video here, but I think it goes along with the experimental aspect of drawing and how that can be really good for learning. And then like just kind of like basically I would then draw horses and then draw them from different angles and kind of just like draw whatever I want with the horse, and not necessarily trying to practice with it, but kind of just like having fun with the idea and using whatever info I required as almost like expansions. Like if you think of it like game terms, like an expansion to what I have to draw. I mean, some people call it like a visual library, but I don't really imagine things in my head. It's more of feeling it on the page. So a lot of it will be I'm looking at reference, kind of like seeing, oh, I missed different angles and things like that. And then when I go to draw on the page, it's a lot of adapting and changing things up as I go. So like, especially this angle here. I mentioned this in a few other videos, but I think like like these sort of like demo videos, I am trying to kind of learn as I'm going with you guys and learning as I'm explaining. So like everything that I'm kind of saying in these videos, when I'm actually drawing, it's like as a whole, like I'm kind of not thinking about these things, but they're things that are like kind of naturally happening while I'm drawing. So these videos are kind of, I'm trying to separate and make it a little easier to explain and things like that. But yeah. So then I'd probably just like draw around with horses for like a few more days or like a week, whatever. But I never want to be at a point where I am overloaded with reference or like kind of like visual data, I guess. Like if I watched movies for 3 days, I think I would be like my brain would just be like so overloaded with information. Kind of like this guy right here. I'd be so overloaded with information that when I would go to draw, then I don't know. It's almost like a balancing act. Like I would be drawing, or I go and watch things. Like if I've been watching a lot of movies, that's enough kind of info for me to then like draw um, multiple days and just using kind of what I've absorbed from watching TV and things like that. But the past few days, I haven't been watching much on TV, and I've mostly just been like streaming art and drawing. So since there's kind of an imbalance, it's kind of like an imbalance, and I don't have and there's an imbalance that I've been drawing almost too much, then I'm kind of like it's kind of like slowing. Not, I wouldn't say slowing my progress, but when you're drawing from imagination and not really seeing too much, I think you will start to get really good at kind of like the imagination part. But then I think if you like, then after the stream, I'm like, oh, I haven't like seen much visual things lately. So then I went and kind of like looked up online like different things. So it's kind of like this balancing thing of I want to kind of like use up all of the juice that I see, or all of the different things that I see visually. And then once I use up all that juice, then I would kind of mean that as like the starvation part. And then I've starved from reference, and then I would go and kind of like then I would go and look at some things, and usually it's always just like following my reference, or not my reference, following my like passions or interests at the time. So if I was like yesterday, I just got done drawing samurai and horses, and this is kind of like a looking up the reference online is kind of a new thing, because before I was watching like so many movies and shows that I would just be like downloading so much information in my brain, and then but now recently, since I haven't been absorbing info, then I find that kind of like just going to Google Images and kind of just like looking at new things. And this ties all back into the experimenting part, because now I was like starved from reference, which I think is really important. Like, I think being starved from reference is for learning from reference is kind of, to me, the most important for like my progression. So it was like what I want to achieve is being starved from reference and then going and downloading information from reference. And I can also start myself from reference by, if I'm watching a bunch of movies, then I go and draw a bunch, and then basically like squeeze all of the juice out of the reference. And then that kind of ties into back into the experimenting part, because all of the information that I've downloaded is then being tied back into the experimenting part. So like mixing a rabbit, I can mix a rabbit with a horse. I mean, it could go even crazier and like start drawing like monsters or creatures, and basically drawing whatever you want. But that's kind of like what I'm thinking of as like the experimental part, and kind of like, I don't know, mad science sort of aspect of drawing. And yeah, kind of what I how I'm using reference and kind of like that aspect. So sorry, this video turned out a little bit long and I was rambling a lot, but yeah, kind of I feel like that can is pretty helpful and kind of like explaining, because I've been getting a lot of, I don't know, a lot of kind of things or questions about like, should I stop using reference and things like that, for improving drawing from imagination. And I think if you're a type of person who learns, who can learn, well, I wasn't even a, I'm not really good at observation, so I can't really say that, but if you want to draw like 100% from imagination and you don't like having references nearby, because that's kind of how I am. Like, I don't want to have like any reference while I'm drawing. I think it's like almost a distraction for me from what I'm drawing, and I want to kind of just go for what I'm thinking of drawing at the moment. So from moment to moment, whatever my interest is. So for me, the reference is almost like this background interest that I go to when I kind of want to expand, rather than I'm not going to kind of like study or things like that. It's just I want to expand and have more tools and like more assets to kind of like play around with in my sort of drawing video game world. So yeah, it's kind of my point of view, I guess, on it. And I think if you're someone who like doesn't like drawing from reference, you want to do full imagination, I think that maybe my process could help you kind of work out about that more. I think a lot of people kind of struggle with trying to find a way to learn when they're drawing from only reference. But I think if you're like constantly trying to push yourself, like being brave and going for whatever you think of without kind of like turning yourself down too early, then I think you'll naturally improve. I mean, you'll be naturally improving just from like moving your brush or pencil or whatever you're drawing with around on the paper. Like it doesn't matter what kind of shapes you're doing or whatever. Like you'll be learning something from it. So you're naturally learning. But if you kind of want to accelerate it a little bit further, this is kind of just a method or how I'm doing it to kind of improve a little bit faster. So yeah, hope some of the things I ramble about help in some way. But yeah, I'll see you guys.